Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this Google Hangout. We're very happy to have Holly Kearl, who started the International Anti-Street Harassment Week, to join us. And just to tell you a little bit about me and our group, I run the first virtual chapter of the National Organization for Women in America, which is the largest multi-issue women's rights organization in the country. And we started the first virtual chapter because we wanted to tap into the way young people organize, especially using social media, like using Google Hangouts, like today. And we have members from Arizona to DC to New York, variety of age ranges, starting from 16 all the way to upper 50s. And we like to focus on things that are important to young feminists, but it's called Young Feminists and Allies because we understand the importance of intergenerational exchange and really movement building and using the strengths and resources of every generation. And as a young feminist myself, I'm so appreciative of all the women whose shoulders I stand on. And obviously, street harassment is something really important to the chapter, to the National Organization for Women, NOW for short, because it is part of the continuum of violence that women and minorities experience. That starts from a sexist joke all the way to femicide, meaning the mass killing of women. So I don't want to talk much more about me or us, just a couple of housekeeping things. We are going to hold the questions for toward the end of the broadcast. It's going to be kind of a Q&A format where Holly will ask the participants their questions, a couple of questions, and they will tell us about their experiences and some suggestions on how we can all help. And then the last 15 minutes we will hold for Q&A from the audience. If you are watching, you can type in your question that is enabled from the Google Hangout page. If you're watching from YouTube, you can also, there's a link there that you can use to ask questions also. And we really do hope you do ask questions, and this is very interactive. That's what we would love. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this over to Holly, who started this international movement. Thank you, Holly.
Thank you so much, Sharon. I'm so grateful to you for organizing this and to our co-panelists. So I am the founder of Stop Street Harassment, and we're based in the Washington, D.C. area, but do work all over the world. We do a lot of education and community mobilization around gender-based street harassment. And for one of the programs that we run every year, this is our 6th year, we do International Anti-Street Harassment Week. And so we have groups all over the world who come together at the same time to amplify each other's voices and really bring a lot more attention globally as well as locally to this issue. And this year we have close to 40 countries participating. And just for us, a quick snapshot of some of the actions that have taken place so far this week. In Argentina, some NGOs released a study about sexual harassment, street harassment in Buenos Aires, which found 100% of women had experienced it. In Australia, a member of parliament spoke about the topic on the parliament floor in Victoria. In Cameroon, there's going to be a youth workshop on street harassment. In Chile, a law amendment to criminalize street harassment nationally was passed unanimously in the Chilean Chamber of Deputies. Nepal has been doing so much in Kathmandu, street dramas, workshops, rallies. Egypt, a group called Harass Map, went out and talked to people in the streets, like shopkeepers and security guards, so that they could be more aware of street harassment and be bystanders and upstanders addressing the issue. And then there's a lot of sidewalk chalking happening all across the United States and in other countries as well, such as Canada and France. And then we've had a ton of online actions happening, tweet chats. We have one tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have people putting up YouTube videos and memes, and we're on Instagram. So I hope people can participate. There's still a couple of days left in the week. You can go to meetusonthestreet.org to see if there's events near you, or to, download shareable images and flyers and so forth. So it's a great week to really come together and speak out together. So I'd love to turn it over to my co-panelists to briefly introduce themselves. I guess we can start with Naomi.
Oh, thank you, Holly. So my name is Naomi Mora, and I work in Kenya. I run an organization called Flown Initiative, and what we do is that we engage men to stop violence, sexual harassment and violence against women in the public transport industry. So last year, I was among the lead organizer in one of the biggest protests in Kenya so far, called My Dress, My Choice, which saw thousands of women come out and protest against the violence experienced by women in the public transport industry. Currently, I'm also working with a transport company that deals with building transport infrastructure for the Kenyan government and county government, called Institute for Transport Development Policy. And what I'm helping them do is incorporate gender when they're planning out, when they're doing city planning and transport infrastructure. And what I'm hoping to do in this organization, and what I've been hired to do, is to assist tech people, architects, or planners, to consider women's needs and anticipate women's need when they are traveling, and also to know the behavioral aspects that women take into consideration when traveling. Thank you. So I think I'll hand it over back to our host.
Manimba, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Maniba. Excuse me. I'm from Queens, New York. I was born and raised here, and I am a Muslim woman. And something that I'm very passionate about is women's rights, specifically feminism, and dealing with street harassment. Specifically because a lot of people think that if a woman is covered, then she won't be harassed on the street. And that ties a lot into victim blaming, and that's something that I feel very passionate about, because I'm covered head to toe every day when I leave the house, yet I'm still harassed on the street on a daily basis. So because of that specific reason, that's something that I feel very, very passionate about, and I try to educate almost everyone around me any chance that I get, whether it's my family, my friends, in school, or on social media. So that's something that's very, very important to me. Despite my career not going in that direction, I'm going into the medical field, but I hope to bring that with me every chance that I get. And I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to talk about a Muslim woman's experience with street harassment. Back to you, Holly.
Okay, thank you. And we're hoping that our other co-panelist, Simona from Romania, will be able to join. I know she's having a little bit of tech problems, but if she's able to join, then we'll pause and let her introduce herself. So we just wanted to have a bit of a discussion first to talk about what each of your experiences of street harassment has been like, and how you think your geographic location and or identity, whatever various identities you hold, may play a role. And before I turn it over, that is something that I looked at a lot in my latest book, Stop Global Street Harassment, Growing Activism Around the World, because it can vary quite a bit based on identities, based on the geographic location. And at the core, street harassment is about power and control. It's about disrespect. It's about a lack of consent. So there are some commonalities, but how does it play out? How does it impact you? What are the messages you're taking away, or what are the things that are being said specifically to you because of how you present or how people interpret you as presenting? To all the viewers, NPR did a really good story last week about this too. They looked at how women's experiences varied in, I think it was like 8 countries. So that's on the NPR Goats and Soda homepage. So you can get a snippet of just the varied ways that street harassment happens. As one quick example, in Japan, there's a lot of groping that happens on the subway. There's not as much verbal harassment as may happen in other parts of the world, but adult men especially are doing a lot of groping of teenage girls. And just recently there was a teenage girl who had been groped so much, she was very upset about it. She'd reported it to the transit police. Nothing was really happening to change it from happening. So she and her mom designed some buttons that basically were like, "Don't grope me." And she put them on her backpack. And men stopped groping her. She hasn't been groped. And so a nonprofit organization in that area worked with her, and they put out a call for designs, and they had like 400 entries. They picked 5 of them, and they've been handing those buttons out at different subway stations to try to spread that as a deterrent to harassers, to gropers. So that's one example of how a specific location, the harassment can look a little bit differently than it may in other areas. Mm-hmm. So I'll open it up if whoever wants to go first. Jaren, I feel like since we don't have Simona here, if you want to talk too about any of your experiences or anything related to Bangladesh, feel free to jump in.
Well, I think Simona's internet is working now, and I just sent her the invite, so I'm hoping she'll be able to join us momentarily. But I would love to just say how much I appreciate Holly's book, and I hope all of you get a copy. I was very lucky to get an autographed copy myself, and it is so intersectional, and she really does. It is very culturally competent, and it does talk about it's not like a one solution fits all, because we all know that different cultures experience things differently. And I think in America, one of the criticism that we faced as American women's rights activists is that we do try to use our views on the rest of the world, and that's just not helpful. So I really hope all of you check out that book, because it's so culturally sensitive. And let's see, I'm still trying to get Simona online. Technology is great when it works. But while she is trying to get online, what I want to talk about is it's a little bit different. And I know I'm coming from a place of privilege to talk about this, but I think it's important. I think when we talk about street harassment, we know that it can turn deadly. It has turned deadly in so many parts of the world. But for a lot of us in America, we look at street harassment as just like this, it's annoying, but it's something you kind of go through as a young woman, and it's not a big deal. And we're even told that we should really feel complimented that we're being street harassed, because it means we're attractive, because older women don't get street harassed, so obviously it means you're attractive, which is ridiculous. And I think it kind of talks about this whole mentality, this culture, this surrounding suffocating culture that does victim blame, that does normalize violence against women. And I think in order to notice that, we need to look at the entire spectrum, the entire culture that makes it possible for 1 in 3 women in the world to experience physical or sexual violence. It's not, that is a pandemic. That's not just something happening, that's not just a one-off. it is a global culture that's making that possible. And so I want us to look at really subtle forms of violence. For me, obviously being catcalled or being told to smile, all those things are forms of street harassment. But I also consider sexist ads that I have to look at every single day when I leave the house a form of street harassment. Every single morning when I wake up and I'm on my way to work, or I'm on my way, you know, on the weekend just going out, I have to look at advertisements on the subway about breast enhancements, about Botox, about doing all these different plastic surgery to my body to make myself attractive. That to me is a form of harassment, because it's telling me I'm not good enough. It's telling me that it's really telling me the things that's making girls as young as 6-year-old have eating disorders. So I consider that a form of street harassment also. And again, you know, I'm very privileged. I've never experienced physical violence on the street. I know how lucky I am because of that. But I want us to look at the entire spectrum of violence when we talk about this. So I will give that over back to you, Holly.
Yeah, thank you. It's a really good point about how street harassment is, you know, within this broader context of sexism, and that's partly why when women are harassed versus when men are harassed, it can feel a little bit different. So just turning it over to our two co-panelists, if either of you wanted to go first to just talk about any of your personal experiences or what street harassment has looked like in your community, that would be great.
I guess I'll go first. So being in Queens, New York is a very busy area. You know, there's a lot of people on the streets. You're on the street more often, so I feel like there's a greater opportunity for street harassment versus, you know, other more suburban areas where all you do is drive. So you're kind of more in like a safe area, I'd say. Being in New York, I'd say that I get harassed on the street multiple times a day. I'll be lucky if I get harassed only once, but usually I consider being stared at and being watched street harassment as well, because it makes me feel so ridiculously uncomfortable. They don't even have to say anything, just being watched is enough. So I'd say that it happens multiple times a day. I notice it's more so in Queens than when I'm in Manhattan. I'm not sure what the reason is behind that, but it's just a lot of stares, the occasional, like, you know, comments, smile, and the same things that Jaren talked about earlier. But specifically as a Muslim woman, I feel like a lot of it is geared more towards, I don't know, people who are of my culture. So people who are either also visibly Muslim or maybe from a country that has majority Muslims. I noticed they're the ones that specifically are going out of their way to make it obvious that they're harassing me. It's very interesting because some people will even use the religion as a way to try and like navigate, like to become like, to get my interest. Like some people will use our like Islamic greeting as a way to get me to become interested, and I just think that's so pathetic because you're turning to something that says to leave women alone. Like you're turning to a religion that says to treat women with respect to harass a woman. So it's like, it's very counterintuitive and it makes absolutely no sense to me, but that's kind of my experience being in New York. It's a lot of it definitely, I mean, I'm not going to victim blame because that's just the worst possible thing to me, but being in my shoes, it's clear that you can be completely naked or you can be covered from head to toe and men will still stare at you, men will still harass you, they'll still ruin your day, whether it's with what they say or whether it's by the way that they look at you. So really it's not about how much you're wearing. You can be covered from head to toe and they'll still have that sense of I guess entitlement to say something to you, to feel powerful. And I've actually started this thing, and it's worried a couple of my family members, but I've started talking back to them, and I feel like it's very effective. if I'm in an area where I feel like I'm safe, if there's a lot of people around me, what I'll do is if I see them staring at me, I'll say, like, what are you looking at? And I'll say it in a very aggressive way, and they'll kind of just be so taken aback that they kind of just, they pause and they're like, okay, what? Like, why did she just say something to me? And that's an indicator that no one really says anything to them. Like, women, like, from the age that we start getting catcalled, 12, 13, 14, we're taught to just ignore them. No one's ever taught to say anything back. I mean, rightfully so, because there's a chance that they might have something where they can attack you or they'll get angry or aggressive. But I assess the situation, and if I feel safe enough, I'll say something. Or, like, if I'm walking by and I hear something, I'll turn around, I'll walk up to them, and I'll be like, can you repeat that? Because I didn't hear you. And then they'll be very taken aback. They'll be very confused. And it's just such a satisfying feeling to, like, finally put someone in their place and be like, I'm not going to just walk by and let you talk to me this way. And I mean, a lot of my friends and family are concerned. They think that I'm going to get myself hurt one day. But if that happens, then so be it, because I'm just so, like, fed up with all of this. And I'm even more fed up by the family and friends that I have who consider, like, who think that it's not a big deal, or who think that if a woman is dressed more provocatively, then she deserves it. That comes from a very big place of privilege of men. Like, just because a woman is walking in front of you, whether she's covered or she's not, that doesn't give you the opportunity, that doesn't give you the right to say something to her. And it objectifies women ridiculously, and I think that's something that's so upsetting to me. So one day I was fed up and I just started screaming at them, and I got the satisfaction that I wanted. So I thought that was really great. That's kind of, I guess, a summary of my experience being in New York, in a very busy city area. And I mean, that's my way of combating street harassment. Since I can't do it through my work because I'm going into the medical field, I figured this would be, like, the next best thing. And it's super satisfying. So I recommend that if you're in an area where you feel completely safe, where you're not scared of someone of hurting you, then you should definitely try just screaming back at them. And, like, 95% of the time, they'll be so shocked and so confused that they just won't even say anything back. It's great.
Thank you. Oh, did we lose Simona again? Yeah, you raised so many good points there. And to your point, though, about, like, the danger aspect, so many of the women who have been killed by the harassers, they ignored the harasser. So just ignoring them and staying silent doesn't guarantee your safety either, unfortunately. So I agree, whatever can help you get through the moment and feel satisfied and feel empowered, do it. And if that's speaking out, then that also may be a better chance of deterring them from harassing someone else in the future. Okay. Is Naomi still there? Or
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Jaren, did you have something you wanted to add before we go to Naomi?
No, I'm so proud of Muniba, and actually that's something I've done also with being a South Asian woman. I've definitely experienced increased street harassment from South Asian men because they feel a sense of ownership because we're from the same country. And yeah, I've had that same experience where Bangladeshi men especially have approached me, and when I don't want to talk to them, they try to make me feel bad that, well, I'm from your country and we're in a different country together. Why aren't you talking to me? Well, because you're a creep. That's why. So great. I think we have Simona online now.
Yes, I have some problems. Sorry for being so late.
It's okay.
But now it's okay. I see you.
Okay, good. Well, let's have Naomi talk about her experiences, and then we'll turn it to you, Simona, to introduce yourself and then talk about some of the street harassment you've experienced and have seen. Does that work?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay. So, Naomi?
Yes, so I would like to also contribute to what Muniba said. And one of the things we had in Kenya was that women were being stripped. This means that women were having their clothes practically pulled out of them. And the debate that was going, it was a national-wide debate, was that these women were indecently dressed. But when we did our research since 2012, we realized that it's got nothing to do with dressing, really. Because they were saying, oh, they were wearing short skirts, that's indecent, it's against our African culture, these women are becoming too westernized, and we need to bring back our African culture. But when you look at the African culture, we were not dressed when you go back to before colonization came. And so we've had to prove that it's not about dressing. Some of the women that have been stripped, so we had to go back to look at all the victims and create a profile of what these women were wearing and show that it's not about dressing. None of them actually had a short skirt, contrary to what people think. So for me, that also emphasizes the power dynamics involved in our culture and how people use excuses to justify violence against women. My personal experience with harassment, so my family used to run public transport vehicles. And so I grew up in the industry, but about maybe some 8 years ago, I was passing by a bus terminus and a man just grabbed my shirt and pulled me. And it so happened that I was in my hometown, and people know the family because we've been in the public transport industry for a while. And so I called out my uncle's name, but he wasn't there. I think it was just a moment of panic. And so this guy realized, oh, I think she knows somebody, and so he let me go. And I didn't think much about that incident until some years later I saw a video clip of a lady who was stripped. And it was very hard to imagine. Like, I had created a scenario of what would have happened to me if this guy had gotten his way. But what I saw in that video clip was worse than my imagination. And that was really hard. It was really hard to grapple with. I was like, and it so happened that I was on leave, and I found myself in the town where this lady was stripped, and I tried to organize a demonstration, and it didn't work. We ended up with more press than people who came for the demonstration, so we had our first press conference. But since then, I've been working on this issue, and I realized I did not want to teach women how to avoid harassment. I wanted to engage men and challenge them on why they do it. And when we had our first meeting with the public transport operators, I went there very mad. But then during the discussions, I realized what I was dealing with was socialization and culture. And if I was to deal with it, it involves behavior change, and it involves challenging how they were brought up, challenging masculinity. And so we went back, and Zimbabwe had the same issue in the public transport industry, and they had created a curriculum, and they lent us the curriculum. Although 3 years down the line, curriculum we used does not look anything like what Zimbabwe gave us. But I realized what I was fighting was bigger than even the men who are the perpetrators. I was fighting culture. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, over to you, Holly.
Thank you. I think that's so crucial, and often is a missing component, is just trying to change the culture. Too often the focus is on the harassed persons and just trying to keep them safe, and sectioning them off into women-only public transit or telling them to go out in groups. So I commend your work. And the comment of it's come up a few times now that it's not about what we wear. And to definitely confirm that, there have been studies conducted in countries like Egypt and Yemen where women are very modestly dressed, if not completely covered in public spaces. And it's very, very high rates of harassment. 90 to 100% of women have experienced it. So it's definitely not about what we're wearing. It's about the culture that creates the norms to make it seem okay or at least that there will be no penalty for harassing in public spaces. So Simona, thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to just briefly introduce yourself and your work, and then talk a little bit about the street harassment you've experienced or seen in your community?
Holly, hi. Are you talking to me? I have some internet problems. So, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, I'm Simona. I'm so sorry for being late, but my internet is messed up. I'm from Romania, East Europe. And I do activism against street harassment from 3 years ago, I guess. I'm from a rural area, and I moved to Bucharest, the capital of Romania, when I was 8 years old, and I started experiencing street harassment when I was 11. Was something like a young boy came to me and grabbed me and said to me that I'm good to fuck. And I was shocked and horrified, and I felt ashamed and dirty and helpless. Yeah, and in Romania, we don't have any research on street harassment. We do activism, but just in Bucharest, because we don't have resources, we don't have people who want to get involved, and it's kind of sad because it's happening all day. It's an experience for girls and women as well, but for LGBT folks as well, and it's kind of scary because I have a lot of experiences when I started being harassed, and then many of those guys started aggressing me and threatened me to, I don't know, like I will rape you if you don't shut up, or if you try to answer to me. I harass you, but if you think you are smart and cocky and I don't know, I will beat you or rape you or I don't know, assault you. And yeah, it's kind of sad, and many girls and women are experiencing that every day, and they just, I don't know, feel lonely and are blaming themselves and are trying to shut up and just go on with it, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It is sad to hear how common and similar the experiences are, in all of our different regions. And you brought up the young age this can start, and I think that's what always gets me the most is that it's happening to girls, teenage boys and boys, and often it is by adult men against all of those demographics. So that can be a much harder challenge to speak out against someone who's much older than you, and to change the culture.
Powerful. More powerful than you.
Yeah, exactly. They're more powerful than you. So that's a big problem, I think, all around the world, and something that is hard to sort of think about how to tackle. I know we have just about 10 more minutes before we open it up for questions, so I wanted to see if each of you had maybe like one thought or suggestion for our viewers about what you've seen, be successful in some way at addressing harassment, whether it's at a personal level, like something you've been able to say back to a harasser that's worked, or at a community level, some initiative or effort that you think has had some sort of an impact. So I'll open it up for each of the panelists to respond on that, and then we'll open it up for questions. Does anyone want to go first?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
So when we started out, we were 4 ladies, and we used to go and speak to the public transport operators, and we realized that does not work. It did not work. All the issues we brought up were trivialized. They would ask about, oh, which tribe are you? Where do you stay? And, you know, oh, where's your hometown? And if you say another different hometown, they'll be like, oh, you don't even know our issues, so I don't know why you're here. Or they would ask you, oh, what are your qualifications? And then by mistake, you'd list your qualification, and they would be like, oh, you're one of those educated women who think they're all that. And so we realized we were not getting the message across. So what we did is that we looked for 2 elderly men. They're between the ages of 45 to around, I think, 52. And we trained them on the curriculum, and we had them deliver the curriculum. So during the training, we would act like secretaries, and the men would deliver the training. And the funny thing is that it was the same content that we were delivering, but the fact that it's been delivered by fellow men and older men, they actually sat down and listened. And the fact that, you know, fellow men were saying, this is not how to treat a woman, right? And challenging all this stuff. There's one really particular question where they ask them, when somebody tells you stop acting like a woman, what do you think? And most of them say, oh, it's an insult, and it's disrespectful and all that. And then now the men take them through the process of what does it involve being a woman, and why do you think that being a woman or being called a woman is an insult? And so so like the trainer would say, there's some part of me that woman-like. I think when I say it in Swahili, it makes more sense. And he would say there are things about me as a man that are not good, and the way I can improve them is to have more woman attributes, to take in, so to have more women characteristics. And you should see the participants' faces. They're like, so are you admitting that you have some, you know, womanly characteristics in you, and you actually actively seeking such characteristics? And it really shows you how over time that our culture has socialized men to look at women, and how they feel that they feel entitled to women's body, they feel superior. Yeah. So I think that's one of the things that has really worked for our session. And another thing was, with My Dress, My Choice, we had been working for almost for a really long time, and it was really hard to get funding. People did not understand the prevalence of the problem, the magnitude of the problem, because it was more like an urban rumor. There was only one video clip of such an incident, of stripping incident. And then in November last year, within 1 week, there were like 4 video clips of ladies being sexually violated in the public transport industry. And we got on board and organized the demonstration within 5 days. And within the 7th day, the parliament had passed a law that made stripping punishable by 10 years. They had, sorry, I think my picture's gone off. Let me try to work on that and continue talking. And so by the 7th day, they had made a law that made stripping punishable by 10 years. And they had arrested, how many? They had arrested 12 perpetrators of 2 different cases. And for me, that spoke volumes about being able to mobilize people and getting the public to own the problem. Because when you look at the campaign, you will not see my name. You will not see the other 13 organizers. We let the public own the campaign. And that is how we were able to get we were able to see all this change that has driven our cause.
Congratulations. That's really inspiring to hear everything that you've done. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. So like I said before, the one thing that has worked best for me is to talk back to the street harassers. Specifically, whether you just watch them, even if you're not confident enough to say something back, because I think it takes a certain level of confidence to build up to be able to, yell back or say something back to the type of person who has been harassing you since you were so young. I think a good way to start would to just watch them. Like when you feel someone watching you, rather than lowering your gaze or looking in the other direction because you're uncomfortable, just look them in the eye until they look away, because they'll feel that discomfort that they're putting on you. So it's kind of like you're turning the tables and making them feel uncomfortable in the same way. And then if eventually you're able to work up to talking back. So whether it's don't look at me that way, don't talk to me that way, 95% of the time someone will not say something back. I've had one instance where a man was like, what am I doing wrong? And I was like, you're being disrespectful, you're harassing me, you're making me feel like a piece of meat and you need to stop. And he kind of just walked away because he didn't know what to say back. So I thought that was really effective. And like I said, like Jaren said also, being in New York, being in the US, being in a place of I guess being in an area where you feel more safe is also a type of privilege. So if you feel that sense of safety, it's never going to be worth it if you feel like doing that and the person is probably carrying a weapon, or it's never going to be worth it. Is it really worth it if you put your life on the line just so that you can get a few words out? So if you can assess the situation, use your best judgment, and if you completely feel safe enough to do that, then that would be the best option. In terms of helping bring awareness in the community, I took a Psych of Women class last semester, and it was an online class, so most of our assignments were online, and I was pleased to see that there were a few males in the class so that they could get, like, the female perspective of how the women feel versus, like, in the actual textbook that was written and how women feel in the class. So it was a really nice perspective, and our final project was to do some sort of documentary. So because I feel so passionate about this whole street harassment and women's rights, I decided to make that my documentary. And it's interesting because most of my resources were from Stop Street Harassment. So that was like my go-to to try and get the best information, try and get all the statistics, just because when you see the statistics, it kind of just makes it more real. It's like a different sense of power when you see like 95% of women were street harassed below the age of 12. Like, it kind of just blew everyone's minds. So I interviewed a bunch of my friends, a couple of family members, and I just asked them like 4 to 5 basic questions. How old were you when you were first harassed? How does being harassed make you feel? Do you take it as a compliment? And do you think that a woman who is wearing less clothes deserves to be harassed versus a woman who is wearing more clothes? And across the board, the answers were almost exactly the same. Between 12 and 13, they were first harassed. They take it as an insult. They do not take it as a compliment. It does not make them feel good. And they think that no matter what you're wearing, no one deserves to be harassed. And I feel like because those basic principles seem to go across the board, at least with women, because I hadn't included men just to make the project a little more simple. I feel like across the board with women, that's something that can be really powerful. So if you have the opportunity, if you have the time to try and get those women together in a way that haven't been together before, even to just create a discussion, because I feel like street harassment is like a topic that a lot of people prefer not to talk about, because it's just something that we've all experienced since we were 10 or 12 years old. It's just something that's a part of our everyday lives. And including men in that discussion is also really important, because at least from what I've noticed, when I'm walking with a man, no one dares to harass me on the street. And you definitely see the power play there. It's like, okay, she's with a man, she already has a man who has ownership over her, let me not go and harass her. So to have men included in that discussion, it kind of opens their eyes, because if they're with a woman, they won't see her get harassed. So they don't exactly know what we're going through up until you explain it to them. And they can't start solving the problem from within if they don't know what's happening. So including them in that discussion is something that I think is really, really important. And if you can, at every opportunity, try to yell back at your harassers, explain to them why it's wrong, and then try to include men in the discussion. I think those are like 3 things that are really, really important and can really help solve this problem once and for all.
Thank you so much, Maniba. That was so many wonderful, wonderful tips in there. And yeah, especially like really needing to get men involved and talking to them and making them aware. Thank you. And then Simona, anything that you want to add too before we turn it to Q&A?
Yeah, unfortunately in Romania we are making baby steps. As I said before, we don't have any research on street harassment. We don't use the term street harassment or harassment. If a man harasses you on the street, you have to be kind and say thank you for harassing me, because we don't have this culture or respect or consent or I don't know, trying to understand that women are equal to men. So harassment as a problem doesn't exist in Romania, and I, as a PhD student and activist as well, I'm trying to research this problem. I just did an online questionnaire for men. I had some 1,014 responses, I guess, and the main responses from men are that masculinity means power and control over women, of course, and femininity, in their opinion, means sensitivity, obedience, and I don't know the word exactly how to say it. When you are weak, weakness, and it's kind of sad. I react to harassment. I just talk back and or threaten them to, I don't know, to call the police, but the policemen do nothing in Romania if you are harassed or, I don't know, raped. Yeah, we do this activism and research, but we don't have anything more to do. We can speak to authorities because they're just mocking us and said, I don't know, street harassment, what is this? It's not a problem. No, you must be kidding. It's just a joke. I mean, if I say hi to you or you're hot or I want to go out with you, it's just a compliment, not harassment. You are mad. Yeah. I don't know what to say. It's a huge effort to me to document this on Romania as a single person. And I hope in the future, if we do more and more activism and more raising awareness in high school, I hope, and in the public space is kind of hard because you have to have some approval from the city council. They don't want to get to give you this approval because they want the citizens to be obedient and quiet. Yeah. This is the sad reality in Romania. We have a lot of problems. We don't have rape centers, sorry, and we don't have laws against rape, strong laws. I mean, we don't have shelters from domestic violence victims. So, you know, it's hard to go to the, I don't know, to the government and say, you know, we have these problems. We don't feel safe on the street, because they will say to you that, I don't know, we have a lot of more important problems, so street harassment is like a joke and you are just wasting our time.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear how challenging it is, and I really applaud you for all that you're doing despite the many barriers and pushback and, you know, lack of acknowledgement. It's really been following your work for a couple of years now, and it's really inspiring to see all that you're doing. So we're all, even though we can't be there with you in person, we're on your team, and we want to help support you in whatever way we can too.
Yeah, Simona, just to piggyback off what Holly is saying, you know, I live in New York City, which is kind of the feminist capital of probably America, and I know how blessed I am and how lucky I am, and I have a wonderfully feminist husband, and I have wonderful feminist friends, and even with all the support, there are days when I feel lonely and I feel defeated when I'm, you know, working on feminism, working against racism, all these types of things. So I admire you so much for what you do.
Thanks.
I don't think I could do it in a place where I wasn't supported the way I am, and I really hope you know that there are hundreds and thousands of women around the world who are by your side. We may not be there with you in person, but we are with you in spirit, and we are with you on the internet, and any way we can help you, please let us know. Please reach out, even if it's just, you know, this idiot guy said this thing to me, or this thing happened and it scared me, or this thing happened and it made me happy. We're here. I think it's really important for us on the front lines to have that community of support, even if it is through the internet.
Yes, thank you.
Jaren, did any questions come through?
There is. So Cheyenne from New Hampshire asks, how old were we each when we first experienced street harassment? And I was, I want to say 11. I may have been younger. I think that's when I started noticing it, is when I was 11. And it's interesting. As I've gotten older, it's gotten less and less, which really goes back to this whole idea that we should take it as a compliment. So the men who are harassing, and they were mostly men, adult men, they are pedophiles. They are targeting 11-year-olds. They are pedophiles. I should not feel complimented if a pedophile gives me attention. So no, this is not a compliment. Amen. So if each one of you want to kind of talk about when you first started experiencing street harassment and any trends that you've experienced with your identities.
Everybody?
Yeah. Should we call on someone?
Yeah.
Naomi.
Yes. So I don't think I've ever been asked that question, so I'm trying to, you know, think about it. I think I remember one incident. I think I was about maybe 13, 12, and my mom had sent me to the shops, and this neighbor, he kept harassing me, but to me it wasn't that. I didn't think it was harassment. I thought I became very aware that, you know, that I was becoming a woman, and but I never thought much about it, and I thought it was okay, and you know, that meant that I was getting more beautiful, and you know, I would get, you know, and I was getting men's attention. But I think but then it changed when my mom was really mad about it, and yeah, and that's when I thought, oh well, this is bad. This is not good. But I think I was yeah, I was maybe 12, 13, but there have been a couple more incidences, but it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I came to know what it was. I had accepted it as normal part of life, and I never thought about it. And for example, even today when we were doing the survey on women transport needs, you know, guys would, you know, come too close for comfort and ask for phone numbers and everything. And one of the surveyors, who's a lady, you know, did the usual thing. She was smiling, she was being very cooperative, but she was really smiling. And when I asked her, like, how are you smiling? She was like, no, I'm not smiling, I'm fake smiling. But then she's not conscious about it. And I think for a lot of women, that's what happens. And I think that's what happened to me for a very long time until, you know, until this incident that really shook me, and I started reading up on this topic and finding out that all this time, all these things have been happening, but I thought it was just normal. Yeah.
Muniba, do you want to go next?
Sure. The first time I experienced street harassment, I think I might have been 12 or 13, but I can't remember the exact incident. But the thing that stands out most in my mind is when I was 8, my older sister was 12, and my sister that was older than her was 15. So we were all outside. We were going out, and I remember someone in a car, I think, catcalled my 12-year-old sister. So the one that was in the middle. So I was 8, she was 12, the older one was 15. And that was the first time it really hit me. So even as young as 8, like, I was able to understand that what was happening wasn't good. Like, I understood that it was something wrong because my oldest sister got very angry and she started yelling at the guy. She was like, what's wrong with you? Like, she's only 12 years old. Like, you're disgusting. And that's when it really, like, hit me as an 8-year-old. That's when I understood, like, this is something that shouldn't be happening. And that guy was, like, wrong. And then it didn't actually start happening to me until I was 12 or 13. But the fact that I was able to grasp that concept that, like, these men are out here just to harass women and that they just want this power, like, as an 8-year-old, I think that's a really big deal. So I think that was, like, really the first time that it really hit me. But the first time I was actually harassed was around 12 or 13.
So I know we have only 2 more minutes left, and so I want to maybe ask Holly about the rest of the week, and if anybody has any final comments they want to say.
Thank you to all of you for sharing your experiences and thoughts. And I invite everyone to go to meetusonthestreet.org and see what other events are coming up. For example, New York City will have a big rally on Saturday. I know Jaren will be there. My dad's going to be speaking for Stop Street Harassment as a male ally. And there's going to be a tweet chat tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Use the hashtag CASSCHATS, CASSCHATS.
Well, thank you so much, Holly, for starting this international movement. I didn't think I would have the honor of speaking to these amazing, brave women from Kenya and Romania, and, well, Muniba, I've had the pleasure of knowing, but just really knowing that how powerful really sisterhood is, and there really are hundreds and thousands of women and girls dealing with this around the world. So thank you. I invite all of you to please check out Holly's blog. You can find us the chapter on Twitter at NowYoungFems. We will be sending out a link to the video from today, and please continue talking about your experience using the hashtag EndSHWeek during the week, and after the week, just EndSH, End Street Harassment. So thank you, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you on the internet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.